can use it in ways that are apparently in opposition to it. Okay. Um, I heard a speaker recently talk about what he believed to be the difference between, and he was a man of faith and in the Judeo-Christian uh, faith, and he said that if you believed in God, then you had to believe that humanity, mankind, um, was not necessarily inherently good in and of itself. If you were an atheist, you had to have the premise that individual humans were good in order to create a moral society. Now, I don't want to get into that argument per se, but I thought it was kind of interesting. But his understanding that individuals were not necessarily morally good until they had a relationship, a belief in this thing that we call God, that it was the belief in God that essentially guided humanity, mankind, into a moral relationship with life in general. And as I listened to it, I thought, okay, I don't necessarily believe that. I don't think individuals, because we are an expression of God, I don't think it's possible for us to not have a basis, but we may be ignorant of that. And I think that's where my personal belief in between what he was expressing and what I understand to be that we do have as individuals we do have a level of ignorance in all areas, in areas of spirituality, in areas of our relationship to life, and that as we go through our day-to-day life experience, we learn, we grow. Sometimes we grow in positive ways, sometimes we grow in ways that are harmful, and we do that out of ignorance. But as we begin to discover the truth of who we are, as we begin to understand the truth of that which we call God, Spirit, First Cause, God, however you want to relate to it, we begin to see that God is all good. We are God expressing as us, but we are gifted with the ability to make choices. And if we make choices out of ignorance, they can be destructive. If we make choices out of ignorance, we can create havoc in the world. And there are people that do that. History's full of it, that have made choices because they have not embodied or embraced an idea of a divine principle, a God that is everywhere present, expressing itself as and through, and in that, because it is the infiniteness, each and every one of us have potentially available to us everything that we could need, want, and desire in order to express our life at a higher, greater degree of livingness that is not dependent upon any other individual being or anything else. It's entirely dependent upon our own understanding, receptivity of truth, of the absolute, of the fact that we are an incredible beingness, that not only are we gifted with life, but we're gifted with the opportunity to express that life so that, if you will, our purpose in living is to enjoy this life at the maximum level. And you might think that that's almost like our gift back to God, that God awaits us to make that discovery of the truth of who we are. And as we do that, as we open ourselves up, um, there is no place on earth where you can be um, and not be able to be a recipient of all of God's good. Now, our materially anchored mind may tell us that, well, that's kind of impossible. But there's a greater truth than what our senses, what our materially anchored mind wants to limit us to. So we go through our day-to-day life experience, and as we begin to study, and I'm speaking now of living in this philosophy, as we study, we practice, we treat, we meditate, we open ourselves up, we seek to see demonstration consciously as a result of the treatment that we do. As we do this thing we call speaking our word with intent and intention, with an expectation of this demonstration. We see that demonstration made manifest, and we grow in our relationship with the divine. We grow in our relationship with life. We grow in our understanding, and we grow in our ability to separate ourselves from being anchored or imprisoned, if you will, to the material world as the ultimate reality, because in truth there's something that is greater than this which our five senses tell us. But it's only as we begin to accept it, begin to put into practice spiritual practices. So this time, this COVID virus time, we're here, we're studying, and we are at a point in our spiritual journey as an organization, as a population. Let's take this time and look out. Let's take this time and question what it is that this book, Science of Mind, by Ernest Holmes, question what it is that this tells us, what it is that this teaches us. Written in 1938, okay, there's things in it that maybe you could say, well, it's kind of not really pertinent today. Maybe. It's like Ernest Holmes talks about this thing he calls the ether back in the day. And then there's some experiments that were done that proved that there wasn't anything that they understood to be ether. But today we know that there's something called a quantum vacuum, that if you begin to read about what it is, understand as best you can as a layperson, if you will, how it works, it's not too different than what Dr. Holmes was talking about when he was talking about the ether. When he talks about divine principle or God, this one mind, it was kind of a, no pun intended, a new thought for the time, and it wasn't necessarily exclusive to him, but an idea of a universal consciousness, an infinite consciousness, rather than some kind of anthropomorphic being that walked through the garden, if you will. Today, it's even though it seems kind of strange, you're seeing world-class physicists look out, and what they're beginning to kind of consider in some way is the fact that, maybe, just maybe, there was some first cause behind all of creation. And as best they can describe that, it's something along the lines of something we would call consciousness. Consciousness, everywhere present, creative, infinite. We are consciousness. We are creative. We are an expression of the infinite, but we can only express it at the level that we believe it and accept it as our individual truth. One of the things that Dr. Holmes referenced a lot, and if you read this book, you'll find a lot of it in there, is teachings of what the individual that he called the master teacher, or Jesus. These teachings that are timeless. Again, if you look at them and you look at them with an understanding of the people that he was speaking to at the time, putting it into language that they would understand. Obviously, he's not going to be talking about like quantum this, that, or the other, or physics. He's going to be talking to people that were very they were just people of the time. They were tribes people. They lived in a world that had no clue about electricity or things like that. But he talked about power, and he talked about being in relationship with this thing that he called his father, Abba. And it's an amazing thing that, the evolution of the understanding of this thing called God in the Hebrew understanding of God till we get to the end of the Old Testament, and what this man, this master teacher, brought into the world, understanding God as spirit, not as a being, but spirit in that time. What are we talking about? We're talking about something that was invisible, that was everywhere present. And that's what he taught. He said, God is spirit. We worship God in spirit. But when he talks about worshiping God, what he's talking about is a personal relationship with each and every one of us, with the Spirit. And when we believe, as we speak our word, there is a response. We have a right to expect that response, that we can find this Spirit, this kingdom within each and every one of us. It's found within. These were all things that he taught back in the day, that are still pertinent today when you begin to seek to place yourself in the greater scheme of creation. Yes, okay, we got a coronavirus. Yes, we got a shelter in place. Yes, we got to be wise. Yes, we are going to be dealing with doubts within our own mind, but don't let those doubts grow into a greater fear. Fear is a very creative thing in our life. We don't have to be subject to it. We can, if you will, buffer ourselves. We're going to take our next break, and I'll see you when we come back.
If your home floods, who will you call? When your house springs a leak, it's time to call Clean Master Emergency Flood Service at 559-213-9430. Clean Master will be there in 60 minutes to start fixing your home. And Clean Master bills your insurance directly, saving you the hassle because you've got enough to worry about. Clean Master also offers carpet and upholstery cleaning, carpet repair, pet odor removal, and more. Remember, Clean Master Emergency Flood Service. 559-213-9430 and visit cleanmasterflood.com. Pour yourself a glass of Crybaby wine available at the market and Sam's Italian Deli. And remember to ask for Crybaby wine at your favorite restaurant.
Forget about the higher good of food, right? You're growing a product that people enjoy really all over the world. I mean, how does that make you feel?
I think about that all the time. I think about the families sitting around a table, enjoying a meal. I just see that what we do brings families together.
I mean, we're blessed. We're in paradise for food.
The Kern family of the Kern Family Farm invites you to eat delicious, nutritious, organic produce available at the Gnarly Carrot, located at 32954 Road 222 in North Fork, California. The Gnarly Carrot is a local, natural, seasonally changing market, offering a wide range of products from local Central Valley vendors. Get your caffeine fix, grab a smoothie, and support small businesses. Learn more at KernFamilyFarm.com and visit the Gnarly Carrot today. Doctor in Sukasa allows you to connect with your doctor when you need a quick treatment. Avoid a trip to a medical clinic or emergency room and connect by video with your doctor from your home, work, or anywhere. Just go to DrInSukasa.com on your phone, tablet, or computer. Dr. in Sukasa provides quality care that is convenient, bilingual, and affordable, so you are never left without access to health care. Visit DrInSukasa.com today.
Welcome to Central Valley Talk, the coronavirus fun and food headquarters. If you're hunkered in your bunker, hungry and need to eat, there's an option for food in Fresno's Tower District. Bobby Salazar's is standing by with individual meals or a pre-cooked meal that will keep you fed for days. Keep it in your freezer and heat it as you need it. Bobby Salazar's is located at 725 East Olive at Broadway. Call them up, place your order, then pick it up. Call Bobby Salazar's at 497-9920. Bobby Salazar's in the Tower District, 497-9920.
back to New Thought Talk. I'm your host, Reverend Steve Walling. So again, this show, I'm just kind of sharing some of my thoughts on, where we're at as a spiritual philosophy, if you will, where we're at as a way of living this and dealing with the chaos in the world, the coronavirus and all the other stuff. So, okay, I've posited the question that maybe we are, as a practicing faith, maybe we're not demonstrating at the level that at one time that we did. And, as I said in the show last week, and I referenced Harvey's book, New Thought Revolution, he's questioned it also. And there are ministers within Science, Mind, and Spirit that have questioned, maybe there's a need for a philosophical paradigm shift. Maybe we need to add something, or, maybe the old is just old and outdated, if you will. My point is, I don't think it's outdated. I think what it is it's been possibly diluted or refocused. If we go back to what Holmes taught originally, and keep it at that level, he was able to demonstrate. He was able to demonstrate in amazing ways. I shared in the show last week what Fenwick Holmes referenced in his biography of Ernest about the 1918 Spanish flu and their metaphysical sanitarium in Venice, California, where they treated patients, and they also treated patients via telephone treatments, and they had no failures. And that's kind of an amazing thing, given the infinite, or the magnitude of this pandemic at that time and what was happening in Los Angeles, in California. Was that just an aberrant thing, or was there something there? And I believe that there is something that's there that's here today. But we got to have an expectation of it. We've got to have an expectation and an understanding of when Holmes talked about being in alignment with principle. What was he talking about? Basic things. One mind, one God. Okay, we get that. Being in alignment. And I shared again last week, you can go to page 285 in the textbook where Holmes talks about we cannot come to God with hatred, because that's the antithesis of it. And God, we don't go to God or come to God somewhere outside of ourselves. It's done. It takes place within ourselves. If we're holding judgment, if we're holding hatred, if we're holding doubt, if we're holding fear within our mind at any level, it's going to express in every level as we seek to demonstrate in our life. And maybe we've allowed ourselves to kind of do that. Maybe we've also allowed ourselves to kind of self-define ourselves as separate from. This is another area where people get, you kind of like dancing around this idea of, I am, and whatever we define the I am as us, whether it's I am male, I am female, I am of a particular ethnic group, racial group, a cultural group, whatever. It doesn't make any difference. Every one of those definitions that we define ourselves as the who that we are, is a declaration of separateness from a universality of oneness. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't express the individuality that we are. We are all individualized beingness within this greater unity, but we have to make the claim first of our relationship with first cause, with God. And that is a relationship that is not defined by anything that separates us. It's a relationship that that recognizes a unity, a oneness, and that's across the entire spectrum of creation at all levels. When the master teacher said, that we shouldn't judge, he's telling us, when we look out into the world as we see the world through our eyes, not to separate ourselves by judgment. Okay? When he tells us to love God with all that we are, he's telling us to accept a greater truth. When he tells us to love our neighbors as we love ourselves, he's telling us that in order to be in our relationship with this infiniteness, we got to drop hate. We got to drop judgment. We got to drop separation. But we don't have to put ourselves in a place where we are subject to something that would be, we can use the word harmful or abusive or whatever. That's what boundaries are for. But those boundaries are boundaries that are only an expression in this physical plane. On the spiritual plane, within our hearts and minds, we recognize the truth of whatever's on the other side of that boundary. And that truth is, it's still God expressed. It's still love. Maybe it's expressing at a level of ignorance, but it's still God. It's still someone that has and lives and breathes in this universal consciousness. When we want to seek to create a greater life for ourselves, we have to bring everybody up with us. Everybody. Love those people. Yeah, even those people. Love them. Bring them up as you seek to demonstrate greater good in your life. Seek to bring them up. Don't say, well, I'll bring them up as long as they, come into agreement with me. Forget that. Just bring them up. Okay? Because maybe we're all not exactly where we need to be. Maybe there's something within us that needs to shift and change, just as we can see something within someone else that needs to shift or change. But we can claim our good, our place, and seek to bring everybody along with us. And that's where, I think oftentimes we get kind of shunted aside. There's a part of us that wants to be that person that sees somebody that we believe is victimized by their whatever, okay, and that we can do for them, all right, and we do for them by judging them, by maybe taking away their ability to do for themselves, okay, and there is a demonstrable difference between giving somebody a hand up, okay? The old adage, teach someone to fish, you feed them forever. Give them a fish, you only feed them for a day. We need to teach people to fish in their lives. We don't have to bring them along into our personal spiritual philosophy. They may have their own, and that's good. We can support them. But help lift them up. Don't help keep them down by impoverishing their ability to express their life. We're all here to express life and to express it maximally to the highest and greatest degree that individually we can. And in that doing, as we seek to raise ourselves up, we seek to raise everybody up. So, okay, we got to get rid of judgment. We've got to kind of get on board with the idea that there's a greater good to be expressed by everybody, that we don't necessarily have the answers, that this divine principle is perfection, that maybe we started from a point of ignorance. Maybe we've lived in ignorance for a long time, but it's time to make that change. But the great thing is each and every one of us can do it. We have that ability. And as Holmes talks about in the textbook, we can start right where we're at and we can move forward. We've been gifted with divine consciousness, with a mind that is essentially our individualized aspect of the greater mind of God, of first cause. And these are, for me, these are exciting things. And it all kind of wraps itself up into when we look into our own lives and we look into the life of our organizations, are we seeing this expression demonstrated, or are we seeing individuals giving voice to, but not giving expression of, in, and demonstration of, and in? You know, maybe we need to hold people accountable, ourselves included. Maybe we need to start with that premise, Emmett Fox, that there is no such thing as undemonstrated understanding. And when we look to our organizations, we look to, and I'm talking about our neighborhood organizations, I'm talking about our regional organizations, national or international. Are we seeing growth? Are we seeing a demonstration of abundance? Are we seeing a demonstration of all the things that we state that is an expression of this divine principle? Are we seeing that? And if we're not, it's not necessarily that there's any individual or group of individuals that are at fault, but maybe it's time for us to call for accountability, that we can all realign. Do we need to change? Do we need to evolve to a new belief, a new understanding, incorporate things that we haven't had before? I don't think so. You know, I talked about last week, Holmes, he did say we were open at the top, but he also said, and it's in the book by Open at the Top by Neil Vallée, and it's a woman. She was I don't remember her name, but she was like a columnist or something in Los Angeles. She was a close friend of Ernest Holmes, and she said that he felt later in life that maybe that's something that he shouldn't have said, because people, because he said we're open at the top, doesn't mean that we need to throw in a bunch of stuff. Maybe we need to pare down. Maybe we need to go back to, if you will, just the basics. Maybe if we look at this book and, we put into practice what is to be found here, and then hold ourselves accountable. Put it into practice here without all the extras. Are we seeing demonstrations? Are we seeing our life individually and beyond that, expressing at a greater and higher degree of livingness? Or are we not? That's kind of where the rubber meets the road in my thinking. I put it out there for you. Again, I highly recommend reading Harv's book. I highly recommend going to his blog page, and you can go from there because he's got a lot of individuals that have contributed on all sides of this discussion. And it's a discussion that we need to have. We need to keep going until we see a demonstration, and we can see it. And each and every one of us are part of that process, but we have to practice every day, each day. Take our last commercial break. I'll see you when we come back.
Hi everyone, I am Sparkle Sujin with the Everything Sparkle Show. Tune in every Thursday live at 4 p.m. You will see people that are motivational, inspirational, inspiring, and of course, entertaining. We have a great time. We learn things about how big celebrities are inspiring big names here in Fresno. Hugh Hefner is the reason we have Fresno Magazine, and Gnarly Charlie got his start because Johnny Carson told him to. So, tune in, you'll learn something new, and have a good time.
Highlights, balayage, color, extensions, cuts, pure Brazilian blowouts, treatments. Contact Jordan Myers at Hair by Jordan.
Did you know most hair and beauty salons in the Central Valley are not disposing of their chemicals correctly? Partner with us today to become an eco-friendly salon. Visit us online at greenbeautywaste.com. Our phone number is 559-367-7206. And be sure to visit us on Instagram and Facebook at Green Beauty Waste.
Is everything in life draining you? Come to Stretch 360. Our professional staff can offer you many options for relaxation, like deep tissue or hot stone massages, infrared medical grade sauna. Once you leave us, you'll look and feel like $1,000,000. Stretch 360. Relaxation is only a stretch away.
The Art of Becoming Who We Are in Christ by Jolene Kennedy is a book about the process of maturity as we find our true identity, since God's promises must be received, embraced, and activated within us. Get your copy today and check out JoleneKennedy.com. Fleet Feet Fresno is more than just a running and sportswear store. Fleet Feet Sports' mission is to provide runners and other active Fresnans with gear that fits their individual needs, training that helps them reach their fitness goals, and races that satisfy their competitive spirit. Get to know Fleet Feet Fresno today.
Welcome back to New Thought Talk. I'm your host, Reverend Steve Walling. So as we go into this last segment of today's show, once again, I've been talking about kind of things that have been on my mind, on my heart, if you will. I believe our potential is so much greater than what we've been expressing. And I believe in this time that it's incumbent upon us to look out into the world as practitioners of an incredibly powerful philosophy, a way of living, and seeing this as, if you will, our individual moment to express